celebrating labor this weekend. We could take a holiday to celebrate labor. When I was growing up here in the mountains, any holiday, they worked. They got off their regular job, if they worked for the county or the state, a lot of them did. And when they had holidays, official holidays, that was just a day to work. I hated to see July the 4th and September roll around because I knew I'd be working with all my relatives, doing hay or tobacco or whatever had to be done in that season. As we celebrate Labor Day this weekend, though, it's important to realize that before man fell, in the story of creation, before man fell and the earth was cursed and brought forth thorns and thistles and weeds, work was meant to be fulfilling and give purpose and dimension to life and help us to feel like, hey, I'm productive, I'm making a difference. We're designed for that. And the fall and the entering of sin doesn't change that fact. If you've ever hoed in a garden, by the way, you know that thorns and thistles and weeds, they're definitely part of the curse. I'm standing here in front of a cottonwood tree, a beautiful cottonwood tree in the spring in the barn, and there's a road right on the other side of that barn. You'll hear a vehicle come by in just a minute, and that barn on the other side of it, between the barn and the road, is a garden. This barn was Mamaw's barn before it passed on to a neighbor, Teddy, and he puts his garden right between the barn and the road. And boy, it's a beautiful garden. He loves to garden. He does a great job. It hadn't started yet. We're in the spring, but he'll put a lot of work in. He loves doing it. Puts it right by the highways, partly so it'll keep the critters away, the noise, but also so that he can show people, hey, I have a beautiful garden. He takes great pride in it. I have a beautiful garden, a productive garden, just like my yard, and takes great joy in it. Labor, as we celebrate this weekend, labor when it's something that's fulfilling to us and meaningful to us. Time flies. You just lose track of time when you do it. I do that when I prepare sermons. I do that when I preach. I do that when I'm doing this. We're made to do certain things, and we're good at it. And time flies by. They call it your sweet spot. Find your sweet spot. If you're lucky like me, you get to make a living at it. It doesn't matter if you're not fortunate. Your sweet spot might be something you choose to do as a volunteer, or you choose to do as gardening. Up here, when people retire, it just means they go to work on their farm and they can produce in a different way and feel like they have meaning. I remember years ago, in the 50s and 60s, I'd see guys retire in the city in their 50s and 60s and die in a few years of heart attacks. These old guys up here would retire, smoke like chimneys, roll their own cigarettes, you know. Oh, gee, no filters, smoke like chimneys, raise the tobacco, and they'll live to be in their 80s and 90s because they worked like dogs on their farm. They never retired. They found great joy in it. And it was tough labor and hard labor, but fulfilling. You're producing things. So find your sweet spot. If it's at your work, develop that part of your work and find fulfillment in it. If it's not in your work, then develop an avocation or a hobby or volunteer to serve somehow so that you can experience the sweet spot that God created you to have. Let's pray. Lord, in the beauty of spring here in the mountains, the birds chirping, the blooms on the trees, help us to know that we can make new beginnings any season of the year, even in the fall. It can be the start of a new beginning for us. Help us to find a new beginning in our labor, to find that sweet spot where we can produce, we can impact others, we can make a difference in others, we can do our work, even if it's not fulfilling, we can do it with others in a way that it impacts their life. But help us to be fulfilled in doing our work, in touching others as we work, in ministering to the people with whom we labor, to whom we sell, from whom we buy. Make a sweet spot of all that we do in our labor. In Jesus' name.